If you want to be inspired, let's take a look at someone who's been a real trailblazer. Our next guest, she broke barriers, the first military woman to become the White House doctor to the president, the first woman director of the White House medical unit, and the first Filipino American to become a Navy Rear Admiral. That's not bad, right? Well, that is Dr. Connie Mariano. She has a new book out called The White House Doctor, My Patients Were Presidents, which is hard to imagine. She joins us this morning. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for inviting me, Megan.
What a book. Was this fun to write? Was this hard to write?
It was both fun and hard. There were some difficult moments there, specifically about how I felt about the Monica Lewinsky episode with Clinton that were very difficult to write. And I wanted to give a very intimate, behind-the-scenes view of the people who take care of the president 24 hours a day.
How did you handle that?
It was a lot of times surreal. I handled it knowing as a military officer that I had to do my job, do my mission, but as an American, a lot of times you're in awe of what presidents have to do to run the nation.
It's got to be, it's such an important job, and I think such a fascinating one, and we were sort of talking about that delicate balance between protecting a patient's confidentiality, but also that historic intrigue that a president holds. Everybody wants to know about the President of the United States, and here you have the opportunity, but how'd you get that all in a book?
You know, it actually sets it up for a great sequel. I did get the blessing of the Clinton family when I wrote the book, because you have to do it. But part of the obligation of the White House doctor, you do have an obligation to your patient, but you have an obligation to the American public that you keep the president healthy, that you're not hiding things regarding his health that need to be disclosed that impact his ability to do his job.
His job, you know, it's so stressful. And I imagine, you know, there's the blood pressure, the weight loss, everything. How do you get somebody who's the most powerful person in the world to do what you say?
It's a constant reminder. The fact that you're there all the time with him when he travels, where he's around the White House, he's always reminded you're there. And then obviously every year you do his annual exam, you go over his blood test results, his blood pressure, but throughout the year you're always reminding him of little things as you go. You have the help also of the First Lady to remind him. You have the help of his staff who schedule time for rest and relaxation, as well as the time he exercises.
And what about your job? Because we were chatting earlier and you said everybody thinks that the president's job is stressful, but mine was really stressful. Why is that? Well,
because at the White House, if the president is ill, it's the doctor's problem. His staff will come running to you and say, well, he's a little bit hoarse, he has some laryngitis. You need to fix that right away because he has a State of the Union address. So you have to only do whatever you can do within the confines of medicine. The rest of the time, you observe, you do what's appropriate. But there's some things that you have to remind them you're human like anybody else, and some illnesses are going to take a little longer to resolve.
Do you have a favorite little story that you can share with us, or a little snippet from the book that you really think people are just going to love?
You know, there's so many different stories. A lot of the stories are the behind-the-scenes people, like the valets and the stewards. I talk about it, the Band-Aid story, where it was my very first day of duty with George Bush Sr., and we were on a golf course in Frederick, Maryland. And he was playing golf, and I was sitting in the golf cart along with 8 other golf carts following us. I was sitting with the military aide to the president. So my medical bag was beside the medical bag of the military aide, the football of the military aide. And in my medical bag, I had thrown together a few things that we thought we would need in case of trauma. I just focused trauma, assassination, all those basic things. Well, what they needed was a Band-Aid, because the president said, I think I have a little sore on my foot. Can you get me a Band-Aid? So I said, sure. So I'm looking through my medical bag, rifling through it, and realize I don't think I packed a Band-Aid in this thing. I have cardiac equipment, I have defibrillator gear, I have needles, I have you name it for cardiac arrest, nuclear war, you know, all those things. And I don't think I packed a Band-Aid. And as I'm looking through my bag, President Bush Sr. is walking closer to the golf cart ready to receive this Band-Aid. And finally, at the very bottom of the medical bag, I see a crumpled little Band-Aid left over from whoever had the bag before.
Not a used one, I hope.
Oh, no,
Okay.
it was covered. It was brand new. And then I realized, oh, thank God, thank goodness. And so I took it out, quickly ran to the president's side, put it on his foot, and I was done. And I just said, you've got to be prepared, no matter what, for every contingency in this job.
So after that, I bet you always had the Band-Aids.
Lots of Band-Aids.
Well, that's great. When can people buy the book, and where can they buy it?
It's available now on Amazon.com. Obviously, you can order, or any Barnes & Noble, Borders, any bookstore around. Ask for it. It's out.
Well, it looks great. I can't wait to read it. It's right there on your screen if you're interested. The White House Doctor. Thank you so much for coming in, Doctor. Great stories.
Thank you very much.
All right, now we're going to send it over to Jamie.